I used to work the overnight shift at a café just off 5th Avenue, near 60th, right across from the park. Nothing fancy, just a corner spot with bad lighting, good espresso, and 2 regulars that didn't talk unless the Yankees were winning. The only reason I kept that job was the quiet. At 2 or 3 in the morning, Manhattan isn't what you see in movies. It breathes slower, softer. It becomes this empty, cold city with too many reflections. And that's where I saw him, the man in the coat. He was tall, thin, always wearing the same long brown overcoat. Not fashionable, not even really clean. His shoes were black and stiff, like dress shoes that had dried after being soaked. He walked with his hands behind his back, never swinging his arms, never stopping. I'd see him pass the cafe window every night I worked, like clockwork, at exactly 2:43 a.m. Not 2:40, not 2:45, always 2:43. At first, I didn't think much of it. This is New York, after all. You get strange people on loops, guys muttering about radiation, girls in fur coats at midnight, that guy who screams at fire hydrants on Tuesdays. But this man was different. Because the first time I saw him, he made eye contact through the glass, and he smiled. Not a normal smile, not friendly. It was like he recognized me, like I was the reason he was walking. The next few nights, I avoided looking outside around that time. But I always felt it. That moment when he'd pass. The air in the cafe would shift. My coworkers never noticed. Neither did customers. But I swear, the smell changed, like damp fabric and cold metal. Like something old and wet that had no business being there. Then, a few weeks in, he stopped, right outside the window. Didn't look in, didn't move, just stood there. For 6 full minutes. I was frozen behind the counter, pretending to fix something under the espresso machine. I couldn't bring myself to look directly at him. But I could feel him watching, like heat from a candle you don't see, but feel burning just under your skin. Then he walked away. Not quickly, just resumed his loop. That night, I walked home instead of taking the subway. I needed the air. I needed to feel like I was still real. And when I passed 5th and 61st, I swear, I saw him again on the other side of the street, walking the other way. Same pace, same posture, like he was doing both sides of the avenue at once. ¿Quieres que continúe con la parte 2? Ahí entra el primer intento del protagonista por entender quién es ese hombre. Y empieza a encontrar que otras personas lo han visto también, pero ya no están vivas. Dijiste, si ChatGPT dijo, perfecto Luigi, aquí continúa la parte 2 de The Man in the Coat on 5th Avenue. En esta sección, el protagonista empieza a investigar y descubre que hay personas que han visto al mismo hombre, pero no por mucho tiempo. 2 days after I saw him on both sides of the street, I broke. I logged into Reddit using an old account and posted something simple to r/NYC:. Anyone else ever seen a tall man in a brown overcoat walking 5th Avenue at night around 2:43 a.m.? No replies. 12 hours later, a single comment. Is this about Robert Milner? I had no idea who that was. I asked, but the user never replied. That night at the cafe, I searched the name. Nothing recent. But buried in the archives of old local news, I found it. Robert Milner. Disappeared in 1994. Night shift employee at the New York Public Library. He worked in document restoration, used the back service entrance facing 5th Avenue. Last seen leaving the library at exactly 2:40 a.m. No body was ever found, just his shoes, side by side, dry, facing the street. Police reports listed the case as unresolved until 1996, when it was officially closed with a note, "Presumed deceased, unexplained absence, possible spontaneous disappearance." Spontaneous disappearance? I told Martine about it. One of the security guards who stopped by the cafe some nights. Dominican guy, late 60s, worked at a museum on 62nd. I asked if he ever heard about Milner. He didn't answer right away, just stared at me and said, "You saw him?" I nodded. He looked down, then whispered, "My cousin saw him too, back in 2002. Kept seeing him for days. Then we stopped seeing him." And he walked out. That night, I didn't work. I told my manager I was sick and took the train back into Midtown. I walked up and down 5th Avenue from 2:30 until I saw him. 2:43 a.m., southbound. Same pace, same posture, same coat. But this time, I stood my ground. He got closer and stopped a few feet from me. Then he spoke. "You watch too much." His voice was deep, dry, like it came through a speaker in another room. He smiled, then pointed past me toward the park. "Do you want to see it all?" And he turned toward Central Park and crossed the street. I followed him, without thinking, because the part of me that still believed I could ignore him had died the moment he spoke. I crossed into the fog, but when I reached the other side, he was gone. The second I stepped off the curb and onto the edge of Central Park, it felt like the city dropped away behind me. No cars, no sirens, no light. The fog was heavier than I expected. Not natural. It didn't just blur things, it muffled them. Sounds felt like they were getting lost mid-air. Even my footsteps seemed too soft, like I wasn't actually touching the ground. I followed the path toward the benches near the literary walk. No sign of him, but I kept going. Something had shifted in the air. The trees looked wrong, not twisted or dead, just still, too still. Not even the wind moved the leaves. And then I saw him again, just standing under a lamppost that wasn't turned on. His coat looked wet, not from rain, from time. I approached slowly. The path behind me had disappeared in the mist. I should have turned around. I knew it, but my legs moved on their own. He didn't face me, just stood there, hands behind his back, like a statue. Then he said, quietly, "You'll forget what you are." I blinked, and everything around me had changed. I wasn't in the park anymore. Or maybe I was, but not this park. The trees were taller. The path was gone. The lampposts were made of old iron and cracked glass. The city sounds were completely gone. I turned around. No exit. Just more trees, more dark. Then I saw someone else. A woman sitting on a bench. Long coat. Head bowed. Hair black, soaking wet. Her shoulders moved slightly, like she was breathing too fast. But she didn't look up. She whispered something. I stepped closer. Her voice was brittle, like it came from the inside of a shell. "He makes a stay." Behind her, on the back of the bench, scratched into the metal. Robert Milner, 2:43 a.m. Nina Gallo, 2:43 a.m. Luis Martinez, 2:43 a.m. You. Yes, you. The last name was freshly scratched, still flaking metal. I turned and ran, but there was nowhere to go. The fog was swallowing the trees. And then I saw him again, standing between two trunks, waiting. He said nothing this time, but I heard the sound of shoes dropping on pavement behind me. 2. Dry, perfectly parallel. I ran without a path. Branches tore at my arms. Fog burned in my throat. The city was gone. Not just behind me, but gone like it had never existed. There was no skyline, no streetlights, No sound of taxis or late-night music leaking from brownstones. Just this place. This hollow gray version of Central Park, where time was stuck at 2:43 a.m. Always 2:43. I checked my phone. Dead. The screen didn't light up. The battery wasn't low. It was just off. I turned in every direction. He was there, in all of them. Sometimes standing behind a tree. Sometimes at the end of the trail. Sometimes reflected in puddles that weren't there a moment ago. Every version was still. Every version was watching me. Then I heard it. My own voice, calling for help. It echoed softly through the mist, like someone had recorded it and was playing it back just out of reach. Is anyone there? Can you hear me? Please. Then silence. I stumbled back and tripped over something. A bench. Not the same one from before. This one was rotted. On the ground in front of it, half buried in moss, was a wallet. I picked it up. Inside, an old Metro card, a library ID for Robert Milner, a receipt for a coffee dated 1994, and a Polaroid of me, standing inside the cafe. That was impossible. I dropped the wallet, turned around. He was there. The real one. The one in the coat. The first version. He looked directly at me. No smile now. Just eyes, black and wide and empty. He raised one hand and pointed behind me. I turned slowly. There, in the trees, barely visible through the fog, was the silhouette of a door. A wooden door, old and crooked, with no building attached to it. Just freestanding. A brass handle. A number carved into the top. 243. I approached it slowly. The man didn't follow. When I reached for the handle, I hesitated. I looked back. He was gone. The fog started to pull away, just slightly, and I saw the skyline again. Distant, blurred, like it was behind a screen. I opened the door and stepped through. I opened the door. There was a flash of light, not bright, just sudden, like someone had taken a photo. And then I was back, standing in the middle of Fifth Avenue. No fog, no trees. The city around me buzzed softly. Cars in the distance, soft glow of street lamps, hum of old traffic lights switching red to green. Everything looked normal, but it felt wrong. The clock on the corner read 2:43 a.m. Still. I checked my phone. It was working again. New messages, missed call, 2 emails, but the timestamp, 2:43, 2:43, 2:43. I walked to the cafe. It was open, lights on, no customers. I stepped inside. My coworker, Jen, looked up at me like I'd just walked out of the freezer. Dude, where the hell were you? I looked around. The TV was playing the weather. The same cloud loop, over and over. I think I was in the park, I said. She blinked. You've been gone 4 minutes. 4 minutes? I looked at the time on my phone again. Still, 2:43 a.m. Nothing was moving. Outside, through the window, I saw someone walking south on Fifth Avenue. Tall, long coat, black shoes, hands behind his back. But it wasn't him. It was me. Same face, same walk. And behind him, behind me, walked another figure. Then another, and another. All in coats. All silent. All in step. A procession. None of them looking around. Just walking. And at the end of the line, barely visible through the window reflection, one figure stopped. Looked directly at me. Smiled. The lights in the cafe flickered. My reflection didn't smile back. And when I turned around to say something to Jen, she was gone. I still work the same shift, same corner, same window. And every night, at exactly 2:43 a.m., someone walks by. Sometimes it's him. Sometimes it's me. You'll know when it's your turn. And if you ever find yourself near Fifth Avenue at that hour, don't follow. This is Trucker of the Night, and not every street in New York leads back home.